The lower decks of Caldrith Station stank of oil, smoke, and refuse. Pipes hissed overhead, leaking steam onto cracked flooring. Here the wealthy never ventured, and the poor scraped by in shadows. Lira lived there. Her hair, once a silken silver common to her people, hung in matted strands, dulled by grime. Her clothes were rags sewn together from discarded scraps. Her skin bore the faint shimmer of the THRYSS race, but hunger had hollowed her cheeks, and sickness dulled her glow. To the station's residents, she was less than nothing. They called her too filthy to touch. Vendors pushed her away when she approached. Children threw stones at her. The guards laughed when she begged for help. She was invisible until someone wanted to spit. Still, she endured. For years, she had hidden in the alleys, surviving on moldy scraps from waste chutes, drinking recycled runoff from cracked pipes. She no longer dreamed of rescue until the human arrived. His name was John Rourke, a trader passing through with his freighter. He came to the lower decks looking for cheap fuel and spare parts. Humans were still rare enough to draw stares, but he walked with a confidence that made most look away. That was when he saw her. She was curled against a bulkhead, coughing weakly, her thin frame shaking in the chill air. Around her, people gave her a wide berth, as though disease itself clung to her skin. John slowed. Something in her eyes caught him, the faint glimmer of defiance beneath exhaustion. He crouched. "You okay?" Her lips parted, but only a rasp came out. She shook her head, ashamed. He offered his canteen. "Here, drink." She stared at it, suspicion in her gaze. No one had offered her anything in years. Finally, with trembling fingers, she accepted. The water touched her tongue, and she nearly wept. "Why?" she whispered hoarsely. John shrugged. "Looked like you needed it." The simplest words. But to her, they were impossible. Words spread quickly. The human touched her. The merchants whispered in disgust. Gave her water. "He'll catch her filth." But John didn't care. The next day, he returned with food. Real food, protein bread, and dried fruit. She tried to refuse, pride warring with desperation, but he pressed it into her hands. "Eat," he said firmly. "You'll feel better." She devoured it, tears streaking her dirty face. Day after day, he came back. Some mocked him, calling him mad. Others warned him to stay away. But he kept showing up. And slowly, Lira began to trust. One evening, rain from a leaking pipe pattered around them as she whispered, "You should not waste your kindness. I am unclean, too filthy to touch." That is what they say. John's eyes darkened. They're wrong. Dirt washes off. Hunger heals. You're not filthy, you're alive. And that means you matter. Her breath caught. No one had spoken to her like that since before everything. "Come with me," he said gently. "At least to my ship. You don't have to live like this." Fear clenched her chest. "If I step above, they'll throw me back down." "Not if I'm standing beside you," he said. The Starhound was an old freighter, but compared to the alleys it was paradise. Warm air hummed through clean vents. The floors gleamed. The smell was of metal and oil, not rot. Lira froze at the threshold, trembling. I'll stain your floors." John shook his head. "You'll walk on them. Same as me." He showed her to the washroom, handing her clean clothes. She stared at the steaming water, unable to believe it was for her. When she finally bathed, grime swirled away in gray currents, revealing the pale glow of her THRYSS skin beneath. She wept silently as the dirt vanished, as though washing away years of shame. When she emerged, John smiled. "There you are." She ducked her head, flushing. "I still look broken." He shook his head. "You look like someone who survived hell." That's strength, not weakness. In the weeks that followed, Lira adjusted to life aboard the Starhound. She moved carefully at first, terrified of breaking something or being told she didn't belong. But John was patient. He taught her how to prepare meals with ration packs, how to mend wiring, how to track trade routes. She proved quick to learn, her memory sharp despite years of hunger. One day, after she fixed a faulty regulator, he grinned.
See? Told you.
You've got the hands of an engineer. Her chest warmed. No one ever said I was good at anything. Then they were blind, he replied. But outside the ship, the world was less kind. When she ventured into the station market with John, vendors sneered. That's the gutter rat. How can you stand the stench, human? John's jaw tightened. Say another word, and you'll wish you hadn't. The vendor scoffed until John stepped forward, his eyes blazing. The crowd hushed. Humans had a reputation, reckless, dangerous, unwilling to bow. The vendor backed down. Lira's throat ached. You shouldn't defend me. You'll make enemies. He looked at her steadily. Then let them line up. You're not alone anymore. For the first time in her life, she believed it. Months passed. Lira grew stronger. Her hair regained its silver sheen, her eyes their inner glow. She smiled more often, shy at first, then freely. She cooked meals, repaired panels, and charted courses as John's equal. The whispers didn't stop. The human keeps her like a pet, they sneered. But Lira no longer bent beneath them. She walked with her head high, because she had found dignity again. One night, as they sat in the quiet hum of the ship, she whispered, You gave me back my life. Why? John leaned back, thoughtful. Because when I saw you, I saw myself. Once I was alone, dirty, hungry, and everyone looked away. But someone gave me a hand,
Pulled me up.
I just did the same. Her heart swelled. Then, I will never leave your side. Not until I can do the same for another. He smiled.
Deal.
Years later, the legend spread of a human trader who walked into the filth of the lower decks and lifted out one the galaxy had thrown away. Of a THRYSS woman who had been called too filthy to touch, yet rose to become co-pilot, engineer, and partner aboard the Starhound. Together, they were known as the pair who never turned away from the desperate, who took in strays and gave them a place to belong. And though the whispers of shame had once followed her, Lira carried them no longer. Because when the human reached out his hand, he gave her more than shelter. He gave her care. He gave her dignity. He gave her a place to belong.